Before a man ever says a word, his body has already spoken. This is where attraction quietly reveals itself, not in lines or compliments, but in an instinctive shift that happens the moment he sees a woman he wants. You'll notice it if you're paying attention. His posture changes, his shoulders pull back slightly, his chest opens, his attention sharpens as though the rest of the room has faded into the background. This isn't intentional. It's not something he's rehearsed or learned. It's a physiological response to desire. From a psychological perspective, attraction activates the nervous system. When someone matters to us, our body prepares for engagement. We become more alert, more present, more alive. That's why a man who might otherwise appear relaxed or distracted suddenly seems energized in your presence. He's not trying harder. His system is simply responding to something it perceives as important, and that importance is you. What makes this shift so revealing is that it happens before self-control kicks in. Men can choose their words, they can manage their expressions, but the initial surge of energy, the subtle reorientation of the body toward you, arrives before logic has a chance to intervene. This is why it feels different when it's real. There's a sincerity in the moment that can't be manufactured. Even men who are emotionally guarded or socially confident display this shift because attraction doesn't ask permission. Philosophically, this speaks to something deeper about human connection. We like to believe we are entirely rational beings, carefully deciding how we show interest. In reality, desire lives in the body first. It announces itself through energy, presence, and attention. When a man wants a woman, he doesn't merely acknowledge her, he orients toward her. His mind narrows its focus. His movements become slightly more deliberate. His awareness heightens. This is not about performance, it's about prioritization. And this is where many people get confused. They listen only to what is said, ignoring what is felt. But attraction isn't loud, it's concentrated. A man may greet 10 people politely, but the woman he wants receives a different version of him. More alert, more engaged, more alive. Not because he decided to offer it, but because he couldn't help it. Understanding this changes the way you interpret interactions. You stop overanalyzing text messages or rehearse behavior and start paying attention to presence. You begin to notice who becomes more themselves around you, who leans in energetically, who seems genuinely affected by your arrival. These are not accidents, they are signals. And perhaps most importantly, this awareness shifts the focus back to your own worth. You're no longer chasing attention or deciphering mixed messages. You're observing how people respond to you naturally. When a man's energy rises simply because you're there, that's not something you need to question or earn. It's something you recognize. Because the truth is, interest that has to be forced is never as powerful as interest that arrives uninvited. And the moment you learn to trust that instinctive shift, you stop guessing where you stand and start choosing situations where you're genuinely wanted. After the initial shift in energy, the next place attraction reveals itself is in his voice. This is one of the most underestimated signals because it's subtle, and subtlety is easy to dismiss. But when a man genuinely wants a woman, the way he speaks to her changes, not because he's decided to sound different, but because emotion alters rhythm, tone, and intention without asking for permission. Psychologically, the voice is deeply connected to the nervous system. When someone matters, we instinctively slow down. We choose our words with more care. Our tone softens because we're no longer broadcasting, we're connecting. You'll hear it in the way he says hello, in how he uses your name, in the gentle pause before he speaks. It's as though he's leaning into the moment vocally, not just physically. What's important here is that this shift doesn't happen with everyone. A man may be friendly, charming, even animated in social situations, but that doesn't mean he's emotionally engaged. Attraction introduces a different quality altogether. His voice becomes warmer, lower, steadier. There's less performative energy and more presence. He's not trying to impress a room, he's trying to connect with one person. And that distinction matters. From a philosophical standpoint, this reveals something profound about intimacy. When we care, we naturally reduce noise. We speak more deliberately because the moment feels significant. In that sense, attraction isn't about excitement alone. It's about respect for the interaction. His slower pace and softer tone signal that this conversation matters enough to be handled with care. That's not flirtation, that's focus. You may also notice a slight hesitation, especially early on. Not awkwardness, but intention. He's choosing words instead of filling space. Silence doesn't make him uncomfortable in the same way because he's invested in how he's received. That restraint is revealing. It tells you he's emotionally present, not simply socially skilled. This is why listening becomes just as important as observing. Many people look for dramatic gestures and miss the quieter cues that are far more reliable. A man can say all the right things while keeping emotional distance, but he can't easily fake vocal warmth that emerges from genuine interest. The body might initiate attraction, but the voice confirms it. Once you understand this, your expectations shift. You stop being impressed by loud charm and start paying attention to calm sincerity. You begin to recognize when someone is truly with you, not just talking at you, and that awareness gives you power, not to manipulate, but to choose better, because when a man's voice softens in your presence, it's not strategy, it's instinct. And the more you trust those instinctive signals, the less time you spend chasing uncertainty, and the more you invest in connections that feel grounded, intentional, and real. Attraction doesn't announce itself with volume. It reveals itself in care. Once his energy has shifted and his voice has softened, the next place attraction becomes unmistakable is in his eyes. Eye contact is one of the few signals that sits at the intersection of vulnerability and desire, which is exactly why it's so revealing. When a man wants a woman, his eye contact stops being casual and starts being intentional. It isn't just about looking at her, it's about staying with her, psychologically. Sustained eye contact requires emotional presence. To hold someone's gaze means you're willing to be seen, even briefly. That's why people who are indifferent tend to glance, scan, or look past. Their attention is divided. But attraction narrows focus. A man who is drawn to you doesn't just look at you to be polite, his eyes settle. There's curiosity there in cherished and a quiet awareness that this moment matters. What makes this particularly meaningful is that it often happens even when he's trying to play it cool. He may manage his words carefully. He may restrain his gestures. But his eyes reveal what his mind hasn't yet decided to admit. They linger a fraction longer than necessary. They return to you even when the conversation moves elsewhere. That return is important. It shows where his attention naturally wants to rest. From a philosophical perspective, eye contact is an act of recognition. To truly look at someone is to acknowledge their presence as significant. When a man is attracted, he doesn't just register that you're there. He meets you. His gaze communicates, I see you, not in a superficial way, but in a way that invites connection. And that invitation is rarely accidental. There's also a quality to this kind of eye contact that feels different. It's not intense or invasive. It's grounded, comfortable, almost calm. That calmness is key because it signals emotional safety. He's not just interested, he's engaged. He's not scanning for validation, he's offering attention. And attention, when freely given, is one of the clearest expressions of desire. Many people mistake confidence for attraction, assuming that bold or exaggerated eye contact must mean interest. In reality, genuine attraction often shows up as steadiness rather than showmanship. It's the ease with which his eyes stay with you, even in silence. It's the lack of urgency to look away. Those moments say far more than exaggerated gestures ever could. Once you learn to notice this, you stop over-interpreting mixed signals. You begin to trust what's happening in real time. You recognize when someone is present with you and when they're simply being polite. And that awareness protects your energy. It keeps you from investing in people who enjoy attention, but avoid connection. The deeper lesson here isn't about decoding men. It's about honoring your own experience. When someone's gaze makes you feel seen, grounded, and valued, that's information worth listening to. Attraction that's real doesn't confuse, it clarifies, because in a world full of distractions, the person who holds your gaze is telling you exactly where their interest lies. And the moment you learn to trust that, you stop chasing interest and start choosing mutual attention. After energy, voice, and eye contact have quietly revealed his interest, the body completes the message. Attraction doesn't stay abstract, it moves. When a man wants a woman, his body begins to close the distance between them, often without his conscious awareness. This is one of the most reliable indicators of genuine desire, precisely because it's driven by instinct rather than intention. Psychologically, the body responds to attraction the way it responds to warmth. It leans in. We move toward what feels good, what feels safe, what feels meaningful. When a man greets the woman he wants, his shoulders angle toward her, his feet point in her direction, and his torso subtly follows. Even in a crowded room, his body creates a private line of connection. He's not hovering or invading space. He's orienting himself. And orientation is everything. What makes this so revealing is that it happens even when he's trying not to show interest. A man can choose to stand back, keep his hands still, or maintain a casual demeanor, but his center of gravity tells the truth. The lean isn't dramatic. It's a few inches, a subtle shift, but it signals priority. His body is saying, this is where my attention belongs. Philosophically, this speaks to the idea that desire is directional. We don't just feel attraction, we move toward it. When someone matters, distance becomes uncomfortable. Closen. S feels natural. That's why forced attraction often feels confusing. There's effort without movement. But genuine interest has flow. It draws the body forward before the mind has time to rationalize. This is also why mixed signals often aren't mixed at all. Words can contradict, behavior can confuse, but the body rarely lies. If a man consistently positions himself closer to you, leans in when you speak, mirrors your movements, or unconsciously steps toward you, those are not accidents. They are expressions of engagement. He is physically aligning himself with you, and alignment is a form of commitment, even in small moments. It's important to note that this isn't about crowding or pressure. Healthy attraction respects space while still seeking closeness. The difference is intention versus intrusion. A man who wants you isn't trying to take something from you, he's trying to be nearer to you. His body communicates openness, not entitlement. That distinction matters. Understanding this shifts how you evaluate interactions. You stop being swayed by charming words that aren't supported by physical presence. You begin to notice who consistently moves toward you, who creates space for connection rather than distance. And that awareness allows you to choose based on reality, not potential. On a deeper level, this insight invites you to trust what you feel in your body as well. Attraction is mutual when both people lean in energetically and physically. If you constantly find yourself leaning forward while someone else stays back, that imbalance is information. It's telling you where the desire truly lives. Because in the end, attraction that's real doesn't keep you guessing. It closes the distance. And when you learn to recognize who naturally moves toward you, you stop chasing those who don't and start meeting the ones who already are after you've noticed the shift in. his energy, the change in his voice, the steadiness of his gaze, and the way his body leans toward you. There's another signal that often surprises people, the small cracks in his composure. These are not flaws to be overlooked. They're clues to something real. When a man truly wants a woman, complete control becomes impossible. Desire introduces stakes, and stakes create vulnerability. Psychologically, this makes perfect sense. When someone matters, the outcome matters. And when the outcome matters, the body reacts. You might see it in a brief hesitation before he speaks, a quick breath he didn't plan for, a hand adjusting a sleeve that didn't need adjusting. These are not signs of weakness, they are signs of investment. He is emotionally engaged enough to care how he's perceived. What's important here is that these nervous signals appear even in men who are otherwise confident. Confidence doesn't eliminate vulnerability, it just disguises it until something meaningful is on the line. When a man is indifferent, he's smooth. When he's attracted, he becomes human. His greeting carries a subtle tension, a blend of excitement and restraint. He wants to get it right, and that desire creates just enough friction to reveal itself. From a philosophical perspective, this is where attraction becomes honest. We often equate confidence with control, but genuine connection requires the opposite. To want someone is to risk being seen, and risk disrupts polish. That disruption is not something to fear, it's something to respect. It means the interaction matters enough to affect him. Many people misinterpret these moments. They assume nervousness means uncertainty or lack of interest, when in reality it often signals the exact opposite. Indifference is calm. Desire is alert. The man who fumbles slightly, who pauses, who seems momentarily self-aware is not pulling away, he's leaning. NG in emotionally. His system is responding to the possibility of connection. This is why it's important not to confuse perfection with attraction. A man who is flawlessly charming with everyone may simply be practiced, but a man who reveals small, unguarded moments with you is showing something rarer. He's letting the interaction matter. And that's where real connection begins. Recognizing this changes how you interpret early interactions. Instead of dismissing subtle nervousness, you learn to read it as emotional presence. You become more patient, more observant, and more grounded in reality. You stop chasing those who appear effortless but unavailable, and you start valuing those who are present, invested, and slightly imperfect. There's also an empowering lesson here about your own role. When a man becomes a little undone in your presence, it's not your job to manage his emotions or reassure him into attraction. Your role is simply to notice, to stay grounded, to allow the moment to be what it is. Attraction thrives in that space of authenticity, because when someone matters, control loosens. And the moment you learn to recognize vulnerability as a sign of desire, not deficiency, you stop overlooking the people who are actually capable of real connection. Attraction doesn't reveal itself through perfection. It reveals itself through the courage to be affected. After noticing his energy, voice, gaze, body language, and the small cracks in his composure, the final piece of the puzzle lies in the quality of his attention. This is the element that separates mere interest from genuine desire. When a man wants a woman, his presence becomes personal. He doesn't just exist in the same space, he orients himself toward her, fully and intentionally. This is the most telling sign, because it can't be faked. Attention is a choice, and sustained, undivided attention is one of the rarest and most revealing forms of attraction. Psychologically, this is rooted in how humans prioritize. Our brain constantly decides what deserves focus and what does not. When someone matters, they receive a disproportionate share of our cognitive and emotional resources. You can see this in the way a man engages with you during a greeting. His eyes, his body, his voice, all have already signaled interest. But now there's a deeper layer. He listens differently. He notices details. He responds to subtle cues. He's no longer performing politeness or casual charm. He is present. What makes this so powerful is that attention requires emotional investment. To truly focus on someone is to make yourself vulnerable in a controlled way. You open yourself to observation and interaction, and in doing so, you reveal value. A man who wants a woman is not distracted by what else is happening in the room or in his own mind. The rest of the world fades slightly because she matters more in that moment. This is the invisible thread that connects attraction to authenticity. From a philosophical perspective, attention is the currency of connection. Words can be rehearsed, gestures can be performed, and energy can be faked, but consistent, focused presence is nearly impossible to counterfeit. It is one of the purest forms of acknowledgement. When he gives you this attention, he is silently communicating, "You are significant. You are worth my focus. I choose to be here with you," and that choice is profoundly intimate. It's also where people often misinterpret signals. Someone may appear confident, charming, or animated and seem into you, but if their attention is divided, it is a surface-level display. Genuine attraction, by contrast, manifests in alignment. Eyes, body, and mind all converging on the same target, you. This alignment creates a sense of being truly seen, not noticed. And being truly seen is magnetic. Recognizing this kind of attention shifts your perspective. You stop overanalyzing words or worrying about performative gestures. You begin to observe who prioritizes you naturally and consistently. This awareness protects your time and energy, allowing you to invest in people who are capable of real connection. It also reminds you that your own presence deserves attention in return. Mutual engagement is not optional, it is the foundation of meaningful interaction. Ultimately, this is about clarity. Attraction that is real doesn't confuse. It doesn't hide behind ambiguity or casual politeness. It arrives fully embodied in energy, in voice, in gaze, in body language, in vulnerability, and in presence. When a man's attention is personal, deliberate, and sustained, you no longer need to guess where you stand, because attention is not just a gesture, it is the most tangible proof of desire. When you recognize it, you understand the difference between fleeting interest and someone who truly wants to be with you. And that recognition empowers you to choose wisely, respond authentically, and step into connections that are meaningful and real.